Hey, so I'm going to need you to point me to where I said in my video that Azrael's shadows were bad, because I definitely didn't say that. What I actually said was Azrael's shadows are a trauma response. I didn't say that they were good or that they were bad. I said that it's important to know when they're there and when they're missing. As a disclaimer here, I am not a mental health expert. I'm not even all that mentally healthy myself. But I do think I can actually speak on this because I feel like this is something that I talk about with my therapist a lot. We're getting real here because honestly, despite Sarah's protests, sometimes it is that deep. I may not have shadows. I'm not a fucking shadow singer. I'm not like a fucking Illyrian dude bro or whatever. But I do have my own share of trauma responses, as does everyone. We live in a traumatizing world. And I would argue that those trauma responses have made me extremely resourceful. They have made me very grounded in my opinions, and they have made me want to defend those opinions very vehemently. None of those things are bad. If anything, I would argue that those things have served me very well over the years. But those things are still trauma responses, and I do need to dig deep as to why those things are things that I do. Some people who, when they're in deeply traumatic situations, they dig down deep and they find a deep sense of resourcefulness, or they find, a lot of different things. Asriel dug down deep in his darkest time and found his shadows. Yay, we love that for him. And as much as the shadows or anybody's trauma responses serve them during times of stress or just in general, it is important to note around who you don't have to do that shit. Rhysand has his own constellation of trauma responses, but we're not necessarily sitting here harping upon them when it comes to his relationship with Feyre, because when he's around Feyre, he doesn't necessarily need to rely on those things. He can be himself. Cassian, for his part, we do not talk enough about how fucking traumatized he is and how that bleeds into every relationship that he has. But arguably, according to the narrative, Nesta is a person with whom he could be himself around, which that this is not a Cassian slander video. I'm not going there today. Asriel, for his part, what his trauma response is his shadows. You could actually physically see him relying on those trauma responses because they are an actual physical tangible thing, his shadows. That is not inherently a good or a bad thing, but it's important to know, or at least to take note of, the people that he doesn't have to do that around, or he doesn't feel the need to do that around because he feels safe. He doesn't feel like he needs a literal extra barrier of protection. Those people include like the Inner Circle and Morrigan and Feyre and Nesta eventually. But it has always included Elaine. And while yes, the shadows flitting around Gwyn are really cute, I'm not taking that away from y'all. At the end of the day, he was in a bad place. Rhysand cockblocked the shit out of him for no fucking reason. And he felt like garbage. He felt like nothing. And even after this conversation with Gwyn, he was still upset about it. And the shadows are flitting about her, and I get it. That's a very interesting, compelling image. But at the end of the day, this is not the first time that this has happened. Asriel's shadows were doing the same kind of things around Feyre, I believe around Nesta too, but I'm not going to look through Silver Flames for that particular quote, but I know they did it with Feyre. And Feyre is not a romantic connection. If Feyre has a romantic connection with any bat boy other than Rhysand, it's Cassian. But again, this is not a Cassian slander video. I'm not getting into that right now. Asriel's shadows do that around Gwyn, but they also do that around Feyre. Like, that is how the shadows kind of investigate a new person. It's interesting to note when the shadows don't feel the need to do that, when Asriel doesn't feel the need to fall back on his trauma responses. And again, I never said that the shadows were bad. I never said that having trauma responses are bad. I have my own constellation of them. I'm sure you do and everybody else does because we live in a traumatizing world. But they are still a trauma response, and being in a place or being in a relationship with someone with whom you don't have to do that is liberating, and it's great. And again, this isn't to say that Gwyneth is inherently evil or she's a bad person or she's unsafe for Azrael, because I never said that either. I love Gwyn. She's best girl. And I do think that if Gwynreal does end up endgame, that the shadows will in turn disappear around Gwyn, because Gwyn will then be someone that Asriel feels safe around, that he feels like he can let his guard down around. Excellent, great, we love that shit. But as of now, today, 6 months before ACOTAR 6 and 7 are going to come out, that hasn't happened. We know the people with whom the shadows aren't around for, and that's Morgan, the inner circle, the like his family, and Elaine. They're not bad, they're just important. And if anything, being like, oh, the Uwu shadow scene with Gwyn is the most important thing, I feel like actually does dismiss the shadows, their role in Asriel's character development and in the story as a whole. So I do think that there is room for misinterpretation here from all sides.